Take a look at the hanger holding your jacket right now. It's probably wire or plastic, or maybe wood if it's a nicer one. Either way, you likely haven't thought about it in years. But this simple object has a surprisingly layered history. One that stretches from wooden closet fixtures to a piece of scrap wire twisted in frustration, all the way to the plastic and velvet versions filling stores today. So, where did the coat hanger actually come from? And why does it look exactly the way it does today? Let's find out, right here on What Objects Hide. Before hangers existed in any recognizable form, clothing simply wasn't stored the way we store it now. For most of history, garments were folded and kept in chests, trunks, or drawers, not hung upright at all. Hanging clothing required space, furniture, and a level of organization that most households didn't bother with. And folded fabric, while wrinkled, was far easier to pack away in a small home. Wealthier households sometimes used freestanding wardrobes with simple wooden pegs, but these were closer to coat racks than anything resembling a modern hanger. A peg could hold a garment by the collar, but it did nothing to preserve the shape of the shoulders, and clothes hung this way, stretched and sagged over time, especially heavier wool coats that lost their structure within a single season of careless storage. The earliest true clothes hanger on record dates to 1869, patented by O.A. North in New Britain, Connecticut. It was a wooden design, essentially a shoulder-shaped piece of wood attached to a hook, meant to preserve the shape of a coat or jacket while it hung in a closet. Wooden hangers like this became common in wealthier households through the late 1800s. They were sturdy. They held heavier garments well, and they helped clothing keep its shape far better than folding or simple pegs ever could. But they were also bulky, made from solid pieces of carved wood, and expensive to produce in large numbers, which meant they stayed largely out of reach for average working households for decades. The version most people actually picture when they hear coat hanger, the simple wire hanger, didn't appear until decades later in the early 1900s. In 1903, at a wire novelty company in Jackson, Michigan, a shortage of coat hooks led one factory worker to improvise. Using scrap wire already lying around the workshop, he bent a length of it into two connected ovals with a hook on top, creating a lightweight, cheap alternative to the wooden hanger. His name was Albert Parkhouse. A quick note on accuracy. The exact circumstances of that morning vary slightly between historical accounts, but the wire hanger's origin at Timberlake Wire and Novelty Company in 1903 is well documented across multiple sources. The wire hanger caught on almost immediately. It was cheap to manufacture, easy to mass produce, and far lighter than anything made of wood. A factory could produce dozens of wire hangers in the time it took to carve a single wooden one, using material that would otherwise have been scrapped entirely. Within a few years, similar designs were being patented and manufactured by other companies across the country, each with small variations on the same basic twisted wire shape. Over 200 separate coat hanger patents would be filed in the following decades, each one refining the same basic idea in small ways. A slightly different curve, a sturdier twist, a wider shoulder span for heavier coats. By the 1930s, manufacturers had started adding a cardboard tube along the bottom bar of the wire hanger, giving trousers a flat surface to drape over without creasing down the middle. This design is still standard in most dry cleaners today, nearly a century later, largely unchanged from its Depression-era origins. Plastic hangers arrived by the mid-20th century, offering more durability and a far wider range of shapes than wire ever allowed. Hangers with notches for dress straps, wider designs built for suits and heavier jackets. and padded velvet versions for delicate fabrics that would slip right off a plain wire hook. Wood hangers never fully disappeared either. They simply moved up market, becoming the standard in higher-end closets, boutique stores, and hotel rooms, prized for their sturdiness, their weight, and the simple visual impression of quality they give a closet. Today, wire hangers still account for a significant share of the hangers produced worldwide, largely because dry cleaners favor them for their low cost, lightweight, and easy stacking. Plastic dominates most retail and home use, cheap enough to give away free with every purchase and light enough to ship by the thousands. And wood remains the choice for anyone willing to pay a little more for a hanger that will genuinely last for decades, rather than bending out of shape after a few years of heavy coats. There are even specialized versions most people never think twice about. Slim, velvet-coated hangers designed to keep silk blouses from slipping off entirely. Wide-shouldered hangers built specifically for winter coats and suit jackets, and small plastic hangers scaled down for children's clothing. Each variation exists because the same basic shape, refined slightly, keeps solving slightly different versions of the exact same problem. It's a strange kind of design success story, one that rarely gets told anywhere. The coat hanger never became more complicated over time. If anything, the core shape, a hook, a horizontal bar, enough structure to hold a garment's shoulders in place, has barely changed in over a century. Materials shifted, costs dropped. But the basic problem it solves, and the basic solution to that problem, has stayed almost exactly the same since a piece of scrap wire was bent into shape on a factory floor in 1903. That's part of why nobody thinks about hangers. A truly successful everyday object doesn't need to be reinvented constantly. It just needs to keep working, quietly, in the background, for over 100 years, until it becomes so ordinary that almost nobody remembers there was ever a first version at all. So, next time you push a row of hangers aside to find a shirt, take one extra second to notice the shape in your hand. Wire, plastic, or wood. It's one of the least glamorous objects in your home, and also one of the most quietly persistent design solutions in everyday history, sitting patiently in the background of nearly every closet on the planet.